Hi there. What I thought of doing this module is just talk about poor leadership, i.e., what not to do in an attempt to encourage people to make the right decisions. Now, I've probably could tick all these boxes at some point, and I'll try and be honest with you and explain some of the times when I've could have definitely done things better. But I just want you to reflect on your own leadership style and what you think you could do better, particularly when you look at these points here. But before we do that, I'll just read a couple of things. The only difference between us and the super great is there's no on-off button for caring, empathy, and showing respect. It's always on. They don't rank personal encounters as A, B, C in order of importance. They treat everyone, and eventually everyone notices. So, what this statement here is saying that the super great, they have the ability to treat everyone the same, and where leaders sometimes get it wrong is there is a inconsistency in how they treat people, and people perhaps in their senior management team get better attention, or people who they think are more important get more attention than others who perhaps perceive to be less important. And it's a classic way of undermining yourself as a leader. And like I said, the advice we can give here is that we care for everyone equally important, and make sure you respect everyone from the top to the bottom of the organisation. So I just want to give some examples here of poor leadership, and then give you some food for thought about, like I say, the strategies to avoid, and reflect on maybe once or twice maybe when I've done it. So winning too much, probably wanting to win every conversation, win every debate, wanting to win every battle. I think I've worked with some leaders who you just can't get a word in edgeways, or they always want to win the conversation. They certainly won't admit they're wrong, and it becomes incredibly frustrating working for them. I think this is one for me I need to reflect on and do a bit better. I think I've mentioned it before, where in my desire to want to help people improve, I'll sometimes jump into a conversation and say, I've got the answer to that, whereas a bit more guided discovery could allow them to find the answer themselves, and stop jumping across people and adding value to the discussion. I think we should suspend judgment as leaders, rather than passing judgment. And there are plenty of people out there who can pass judgment on you as a leader, and trust me, I've been there. And so I really try now not to give a judgment on any person or anything, because we don't really know the true facts of what's going on behind the scenes. So I'm better off to keep my counsel and reflect on myself rather than anyone else. Clearly, if you've worked with a leader who makes destructive comments all the time, there's nothing that ruins your credibility more than someone who makes continually destructive comments. And actually, even just one comment that is destructive can be hugely damaging for a leader. So avoid at all costs. Again, the leader who's always right, but this, or however that, or no, that's not the way to do it. Again, will probably suffer from employees or people they lead tuning out to conversations and actually just avoiding them by the end. There's a few like that in the modern world. I'm sure you probably could think of a couple yourself. I don't think there's any need for any more. So just keep your counsel, and there's no need to self-promote, that's for sure. It's a really difficult one, this. I mean, obviously there's going to be times when emotions get raised, and bite your tongue, I think, is probably the best strategy here, and don't say anything, and definitely don't email anything when we're angry. Reflect, sleep on it, and then come back the following day if you still feel upset by a particular conversation, and maybe start the conversation with, listen, I've been having a think about our conversation. I still would like to clarify a couple of things. Have you got some time just so we can talk it all through? Obviously, leaders who are negative don't last as leaders for long, or if they do, it's only because they're in a position of power rather than a position of influence, and we wouldn't follow them because we had to, because we wanted to. We'd follow them because we had to. I think people don't understand how important it is to share information with people that you're leading, and I'm probably guilty of doing it too often, really, being too honest. But I'd certainly rather do that than withhold information from people and not keep them in the loop as to what's going on. There's nothing more disconcerting as an employee or as someone following a leader who isn't told the full picture. And we talked about recognition in the previous module. This is obviously the same theory, really, in that someone does a fantastic job and you fail to recognise it, or even worse, you don't give it proper recognition. Claiming credit we don't deserve. Again, I've seen some leaders I've worked for do this, and again, very, very, very demotivating and quite revealing, actually, into the leader's personality. Making excuses. So rather than taking responsibility, making excuses for performance. And letting go of the past, clinging to the past. You know, a leader who says, yeah, but, you know, a year ago we were doing this. Well, a year ago is a year ago, and now is now. And, you know, we need to deal with the moment and talk about the future as leaders rather than think about the past. Playing favourites obviously is a classic where there's an ABC of importance, which goes back to the original comment. And then when you get something wrong, you don't demonstrate regret for making a mistake, and that can often lead to people losing respect for you as a leader. We talked in the previous module about suspending multitasking when we're in conversations, and I think this is backed up in this particular comment here. And that's the same as we said before about not saying thank you. It's amazing how the simple words will inspire and motivate people. A classic here, you know, shooting the messenger. Often it's someone close to you, and they're just passing the message on, and you take it out on them. Again, think how they must feel if that happens. Passing the book, so not taking responsibility and saying it's someone else's job is equally a demotivating tactic for people who work in teams. So how will it feel if you get these things right? So this is just the final point I want to make in this area. What it feels like for people who work in organisations who do encourage the heart and have a leader who is good with people. So they'll feel proud to tell others they're part of the organisation. They'll feel a strong sense of team spirit, a sense of ownership for the organisation. If they do not think they feel valued, so if you're exhibiting these poor qualities that we've just described, they'll produce for you, but only when watched carefully. Their motivation will be their pay salary rather than working for you and with the heart. And the old corridor conversation, say good things in public but criticise in private. And that's a classic case of poor leadership shown in teams. And the bottom line is they'll feel unsupported and appreciated. And again, you know, if you think of what your job is as a leader, it's to support and appreciate people. And that's what we've got to strive to do at all times. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. Short and sharp, but plenty to think about in that presentation there, and certainly some things to avoid. And we'll have a webinar at some point. We'll have a talk about some of the areas that are the classics in that area. Okay, thank you.